The DPM defending a no-bid contract, the National Health Insurance Board prepping for a new launch, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs weighing in on the Russia-Ukraine tension. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tyler Simonet with your JCN News for this Wednesday, February 23rd. Due to time constraints, the Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation under the Davis administration gave a no-bid contract to Kalina Insurance Limited to provide insurance services for the Bahamas Travel Health Visa program. Minister responsible and Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper confirmed as much on Tuesday.
The health insurance was granted to SEG Atlantic originally. That did not go to a formal tendering process, and there is a view that the Ministry of Tourism is a corporate soul. In effect, because we negotiate large-scale contracts abroad that has to be done swiftly and expeditiously, the Tourism Act, which many persons should familiarize themselves with, authorizes the Ministry of Tourism to enter contracts outside of the normal frame of what you would find in the public service. So let me be clear about that in the first instance.
This comes after a similar situation when the Progressive Liberal Party was in opposition and criticized the then ruling Minnis administration for giving a no-bid contract to Canoe Pays for the payment processing services for the health visa. However, the DPM gives the government's reasons for taking the approach on a no-bid contract, noting that there were time constraints. The same justification was given by the former administration.
There were inquiries in relation to the performance of the health insurance with SEG Atlantic. The information was not forthcoming. We were approaching a deadline by which we needed to enter a new contract. Otherwise, the contract would have expired with there being no insurance in place, because we did not receive the information and the claims experience and the utilization of the plan in a timely manner.
When faced with questions on the difference between the no-bid contract to Kalina and the no-bid contract to Canoe, DPM Cooper insisted that he would not get into the politics of Canoe and the Bahamas Travel Health Visa. The National Health Insurance Board's prepping for the launch of a healthcare insurance. This much coming from Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville on Tuesday, just before the weekly cabinet meeting. NHI is a government program launched in April of 2017. It ensures that Bahamian residents, regardless of their income, age, island of residence, or current health status, can receive health care free of cost at point of service. In fact, the cost is paid in full or in part by the government of the Bahamas.
So we have a lot of work to do at NHI. NHI is the financial engine that will be able to drive the delivery of healthcare services throughout the country with individuals who are unable to do it with unemployed or even indigents, but we have to ensure that we move into the second phase of NHI, and we made it very clear in the speech from the throne the direction we're heading in. And I'm once again pleased to advise the Bahamian people that the board is now structured. I'm pleased with the appointees, and we have a lot of work to do. And as a matter of fact, I think they're meeting this week to begin that work.
Asked when Phase 2 will begin, Dr. Darville says this.
Well, you know, I don't want to give a timeline. We have challenges in our economy, and we must be realistic. As we begin now to put the parameters in place, I will have to discuss it with my colleagues at the Ministry of Finance. We need to look at the economy. We don't want to put more burden on the Bahamian people that is necessary, but we all agree that the current healthcare system needs to be revamped, and we must find a new modality and way on how we will be able to pay for healthcare services in the country and not be in the position we're in today, where the pandemic has come and the services at the hospital is even more challenged, and the list goes on and on.
In October of 2020, the National Health Insurance Authority unveiled the Primary Care Transformation Initiative, a plan that is designed to transform the delivery of primary healthcare services in the Bahamas and act as a key step towards universal health coverage. With tensions still escalating on the international front with Russia and Ukraine, the Bahamas has and maintains its commitment to sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations, including at this time Ukraine. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a statement says it deplores the escalation of tensions and the attendant loss of life along the Ukrainian-Russian border, adding that it supports the statement of the Secretary General of the United Nations. Foreign Affairs officials also call on all actors to seek a diplomatic solution to the current conflict that respects the rules-based system of international law and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell says his ministry encourages all relevant actors to turn their efforts towards an immediate cessation of hostilities, the preservation of human life, and the prevention of any action that may intensify an already dangerous situation, so that a peaceful and sustainable resolution can be achieved. While tourism numbers are still on the rebound, health officials are still saying large events are prohibited. Bahamar Vice President Robert Sands tells us why there's a difference between corporate events and concerts. With more, we go to our Austin Fernander.
Senior Vice President of Bahamar and President of the Bahamas Hotel Association, Robert Sands, in a statement released today, says we're going to have to learn to live with COVID. He adds that if COVID numbers continue to trend down, he's anticipating further relaxations of COVID-19 mandates.
I am happy to say that demand for the Bahamas is very encouraging. And during this particular period, most hotels are recording very, very high occupancies at this particular time. Notwithstanding COVID-19 protocols in place, and we are grateful for some relaxation, and we've been calling for additional levels of relaxation. The hotels are experiencing a robust level of interest and demand for business this particular time of the year, and we are extremely encouraged. I think if everything remains the same, hotels should get back to or even exceed pre-COVID levels in 2019, which is extremely encouraging.
Mr. Sands notes that even with the reduced numbers of reported cases, it is important to relax these restrictions with caution and with local and visitor safety in mind.
We're hoping that at some point in time, the whole use of mask wearing in certain areas become eliminated. We're looking at certainly the fact that the Bahamas, having performed exceptionally well, should be upgraded in terms of the CDC's position. In the last 2-3 weeks, we've had less than 15 cases on average per day. So if you use the algorithm that the CDC utilizes, that we should be in fairly good position for that to happen. I think we're also looking forward to the fact that the testing requirements at some time are further reduced, either for entering the country and also the 24-hour demand of the United States. Certainly, if that goes away, there may be some justification for the Bahamas to consider reducing the requirement to come in, but all in line with doing it safely and to ensure that our guests are certainly in a safe environment. We don't want to be cavalier about anything, but I think we're going to have to live with COVID and find the best way to find the right balance to stimulate the economy and to make associates and visitors safe.
On a similar note, Sands was also asked about the controversial issue regarding hotels' ability to host large gatherings, while local promoters are consistently being denied that same privilege. He emphasized that hotels are still subject to the same channels of approval as other event holders. Asked if this is indicative of any particular preferential treatment towards hoteliers, Sands had this to say.
Here is the difference, and I don't want to create any controversy. The difference is that over 95% of visitors staying in hotels today are fully vaccinated. Okay, they are already resident within the hotel. They have rooms within the hotel. Therefore, they are participating in the activities and the amenities of the hotel at that particular time. That is totally different from ABC promoter bringing in 1,000 persons that are non-resident non-screened in an environment. You don't find any of the hotels really participating in any of those at this point in time.
While many Bahamians may hold some strong feelings with regard to this issue, the Bahamar director notes that it is important to avoid combative us against them conversations. As he says, with the continued decrease in COVID numbers, the stringency of COVID-19 mandates are bound to decline. For JCN News, I'm Austin Fernandez.
Climate change is a hot-button topic that impacts every aspect of our daily lives. JCN's Laurencia Smith recently spoke with Brittany Jones of the Pan American Health Organization / World Health Organization Bahamas, Turks and Caicos to find out how much climate change really impacts our health.
Climate change is impacting human lives and health in a number of ways, from the essential component of good health, among them clean air, safe drinking water, and nutritious food supplies. Brittany Jones of the Pan American Health Organization, World Health Organization Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, a health focal point, recently shared with JCN News the impact climate change has on the country's health.
We would have seen increases in temperatures, increases in the intensity and frequency of storms. And those changes, extreme changes in weather, has a direct implication for human health. Specifically, it can be things like heat exhaustion or heat strokes that persons are experiencing as a result of intense storms. There may be persons who experience dislocation from their homes, or mental health challenges as a result of the loss of lives and livelihoods.
Mrs. Jones explains the role she's playing in the implementation of the EU CARIFORM Climate Change and Health Project, which will be implemented over a 5-year period to countries within the region. The Bahamas has been a part of the project for 1 year.
We're doing that project in partnership with the Ministry of Health and the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection. The primary objective of that project is to develop what's called a health chapter of the National Adaptation Plan. And so essentially we seek to assess the vulnerabilities of the health sector and identify the appropriate adaptation measures that the health sector can take to strengthen its response to, preparation for, and resilience against climate change.
The Bahamas is considered a small island development state that does not directly or significantly contribute to the global issue of climate change. However, Mrs. Jones says it's important that the country raise its voice and voice that the Bahamas is one of the most vulnerable of the population.
From an ethical and a justice standpoint, where countries like us who do not significantly contribute to the issue suffer the most harsh consequences. Besides raising awareness, we also can look at how we can improve our practices as well.
According to Mrs. Jones, PAHO and WHO estimate that there will be an additional 250,000 deaths each year due to the impact of climate change. I'm Laurencia Smith for JCN News.
You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.